तो सभी साथियों का स्वागत करता हूं आज के इस इम्पोर्टेंट हमारे सीरीज में, जहां हम लोग बात करेंगे। आज हम लोग का सबसे पहले तो मैरी क्रिसमस 2024 एंड हैप्पी न्यू ईयर 2025। केजे टीम केजे सौरभ सर की तरफ से बहुत बहुत आपको शुभकामनाएं। और हम लोग क्रिसमस में इस नए ऑफर को शुरू कर रहे हैं साथियों, और साथ साथ न्यू ईयर। ये हमारा जो स्पेशल डिस्काउंट ऑफर है बहुत ही लिमिटेड समय के लिए, जिसमें हम लोग लेक्चरर इंग्लिश बैच में जो हमारा 12,000 रुपीज का है, उसको हमने फिलहाल कुछ दिनों के लिए बहुत ही लिमिटेड ऑफर के लिए, जो कि अभी हमारे पास एक्सक्लूसिवली है सारे न्यू लर्नर्स के लिए, 10,000 रुपीज में उनको ये स्पेशल जो है ऑफर अवेलेबल रहेगा। और डिटेल्स के लिए आप कॉल कर सकते हैं इस नंबर पे, रमेश सर का 7217469297। तो जैसे कि आप लोग जानते हैं साथियों की केजे में हमारे बहुत सारे जो है ऐसे नई नई चीजें हैं जिसका हम आपको बताते रहते हैं। तो इसी सीरीज में आप लोगों से यही मेरी गुजारिश है कि आप सब लोग इस जो है ऑफर का लाभ उठाएंगे। और आज हम लोग बात करने वाले हैं स्पेशली एमपी सेट इंग्लिश 2024 में जो पेपर हुआ था, उसमें 15 दिसंबर 2024, उसको लेकर हम लोग आज एक स्पेशल एक डिस्कशन है। तो सारे बच्चे आई होप रेडी होंगे मेरे साथ, और हम लोग इस पर एक बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट डिस्कशन करेंगे। तो चलिए लेट्स बिगिन। तो ये जो है हमारा जो है डिस्कशन शुरू होता है, जहाँ पर हम लोग बात करने वाले हैं हमारे एमपी सेट में होने वाले जो क्वेश्चंस थे, उन पर एक चर्चा रहेगी। तो सभी साथी मेरे साथ रहेंगे इसमें, और बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट डिस्कशन ये होने वाला है। ठीक है, सो लेट्स बिगिन। So question number one is, the English word novel is derived from, okay, the Italian word. So we know guys that this question, the answer is novella. We know the Italian word for the novel is novella. So it's a pretty much a very simple question and a simple answer. The second question, the Forsyte Saga. The Forsyte Saga is written by John Galsworthy, and the Forsyte Saga is a sequence of three novels plus two interludes. Okay, this novel series is known as a very important work for which Galsworthy was eventually awarded the Nobel Prize in the year 1932. Okay, next question, R.K. Narayan's Swami and Friends. So this is the debut novel of R.K. Narayan. It was published in the year 1935. The novel The Foreigner. So this is a new question, guys. The novel The Foreigner is authored by, the answer to this question is, it is authored by Arun Joshi, right? And Arun Joshi wrote this novel in 1968. Okay, and this novel actually, Arun Joshi basically lived for his life, quite a part of his life in Kenya, and the novel shows inner conflict. Okay, inner conflict and the theme of alienation. Inner conflict and the theme of alienation is there in this novel. The novel also deals with the theme of existentialism, which is a very common theme in all the modern Indian English writers. If you remember, Arun Joshi is also known for the novel The Strange Case of Billy Biswas, right? It's a very, very important novel. Okay. And for this novel, he is also given the Sahitya Academy. Okay. Then the next question is, William Somerset Maugham is an English writer. He is known for his plays, novels, and especially short stories, right? So the D is the correct answer. In fact, on his name, we know that a short story award is also given. In Ernest Hemingway, The Old Man and the Sea, the central character, Santiago, is a Cuban fisherman, right? Is a Cuban fisherman. So that's the correct answer. So then, who was Henry Fielding's who called Henry Fielding the father uh, of English novel? So the answer is Sir Walter Scott. Sir Walter Scott called Henry Fielding as the father of English novels. Okay. Then the next question is regarding his work as a whole, who is known as a bell ringer. So, who Henry Fielding's novel Tom Jones is also known as the history of Tom Jones, a foundling. Okay, this is the greatest picaresque novel we know. It is known for its great plot construction and Coleridge has called this novel as one of the three best plots ever. Then question 59, I think, is a very important question. Okay, it's you can mark, all of you can mark. This is a very important question because in this question we are getting first the definition of a story, and it is a narrative of events arranged in their time sequence, whereas a plot is organized according the events. It organizes the events according to very important question. This was a new one for me also. Sense of causality. Okay, so that means plot refers to sense of causality. So I'm giving you the example. Please note down the example. Okay, the example is the example of the story is, I'm not writing here, I'm just giving you the example. You can just look at my face and you can just understand that. So the example is, the king died and the king and then the queen died. So this is the example of a story. If I say the king died and the queen died, so it's just simply a narrative of events arranged in their time sequence. So first the king died and then the queen died. Okay. But if I say the king died and then the queen died of grief, okay, then I am explaining a sense of causality, right? I am telling, how did the queen die? She died of grief. Okay, so here it's an example of a plot. I hope I am clear at this point. Okay, then question number 60. 1984, a novel by George Orwell, is actually the writer's warning against totalitarianism. We know that totalitarianism means dictatorship. So it was a novel which was a huge satire on communism and also dictatorship in the name of communism, right? So very important. And if you remember, I think the opening line of this very famous novel is, and the clocks were striking 13. Okay, very famous question in our net. Okay, so it's a dystopian novel. Which of the following prose writers wrote the history of the world during his imprisonment of 12 and a half years of the at the tower? So the answer is basically here the answer is Walter Raleigh. Okay, Walter Raleigh wrote this work when he was imprisoned. Okay, so the work began in 1607 and it was published in 1614. So the work began in 1607 and it was published in 1614 under the care of Ben Jonson, right? So Ben Jonson was taking care of this publication of this work, and Edmund Gosse, historian, okay, Gosse, Edmund Gosse has said about this work that it is one of the principal glories of 17th century literature. Okay, so it is one of the principal glories of 17th century literature. So we were doing non-fiction in our prose class, in our net poly classes. So this is one of the important work which you can study, all of you. So this is the smart work that you have to do. So history of the world, okay, by Walter Raleigh, one of the silver poets, also one of the, you can say, the uh, sea explorers, if you remember. He was later on executed. Then 62 is a very straight question. What is the term used for an inoffensive expression used in place of blunt one? So inoffensive expression or polite expression we have already done in our classes, that is euphemism. Okay, euphemism is decorative expressions. Okay, it is derived from Lily's euphis. So we all are quite sorted out here in terms of our clarity of the answer. Then moving on, question number 63. What is the term used for short pithy statements of widely expected truth about everyday life? Okay, so the answer is proverbs, right? Proverbs. So basically proverbs are short pithy means very you can say containing means containing a lot of things in a very few words. Okay, pithy. So you can say brevity. Pithy means brevity. Then we know epilogue. So epilogue, what is an epilogue? I just researched this. So epilogue is basically another name for a fable. Okay, epilogue is a kind of synonym for fable. M.H. Abraham says that. So it's a very important question, although not the answer here, but we have to sometimes explore the questions also. Trickster, the one who in Hindi we call it as chalbaz. Okay, the one who is very performs tricks, usually in a playful manner. Trickster is a performer who plays tricks in a playful manner. Okay, so it is not necessarily always a negative word. Okay, Alazan, I could not. I mean, I would tell you to find it out and answer in the comment box. Okay, Alazan. So it's a new one for all of us. Okay. Then regarding his work as a whole, who is known as, this is I think a very important question, especially I teach many students here in Uttarakhand also, very important LT lecture batch is going on. So a bell ringer who is up first to call others to church. So this actually famous line was spoken by Francis Bacon on himself. Okay, so I mark it as a very important question. Okay. Then moving on, question number 65. I think I shall go to my grave without finding or expecting to find such another companion. Okay. So this is actually, this is also very important question for Uttarakhand lecturer also, because Hazlitt is there in our course. So, sorry, Charles Lamb is there in our course. So the answer is Charles Lamb. This line is taken from the memoir of Charles Lamb. Charles Lamb wrote a memoir. Okay. So that is there. Okay, and who and Charles Lamb is complementing to whom? So Hazlitt. So Hazlitt is also there in our Uttarakhand syllabus. So Lamb and Hazlitt both are there. So it becomes a very important question then. Question 66. Which one of the following essays by De Quincey is autobiographical in nature? Okay, so the answer is ठीक है. So answer is Confession by of an Opium Eater. Okay, it's a very popular essay written in 1821 by, you can say, by Thomas de Quincey. It gave him an overnight fame. He became an overnight celebrity because of this work, and we know this work is all about opium, and opium is also called as laudanum. नोट कर लेंगे. Laudanum, Laudanum. Laudanum is another name for opium, and we know that in Romantic age there were opium wars. Illegal opium was smuggled illegally to China. So opium wars, Britain's opium war with China, were there in this age. Which age we are talking about? Romantic age. Thomas de Quincey was in the Romantic age. So in Romantic age, okay, so this is a very important political backdrop. Who is the author of Anatomy of Melancholy? So the answer is Robert Burton. He wrote it in 1621, the first edition, and it continued till 1651. Okay, the book has been, continued to edited. It was continued to be edited by Burton, and he edited it 6 times. Okay, so that is there. Then next question. From the point of yonder rolling cloud, I plunge into my past being and revel there as the sunburnt Indian plunges headlong into the wave that wafts him to his native shore. So it's a kind of poetic line, and the answer to this question is it is written by Ongoing a Journey by Hazlitt. So the question has been asked from inside the essay of written by Hazlitt, and the title is Ongoing a Journey. Okay, which of the following is not a work by Ruskin? So here we are talking about not Ruskin Bond, but we are talking about John Ruskin. Okay, a great Victorian essayist and art critic, Victorian art critic and essayist John Ruskin. Very good question. Okay, so the answer to this question is like Unto This Last is written by him. Okay. Monera Pulveris is also written by him. The Crown of Wild Olive is also written by him. Okay, so the work which is not written by him is Apologia Pro Vita Sua, which is a defense of one's religious life. Defense of one's religious life. It is a very famous religious tract or essay written by Henry Newman. John Henry Newman, J.H. Newman. Okay, if you remember the Oxford movement, also called as Tractarian movement. So John Henry Newman wrote this very famous essay. So the answer is D. And to this last is we know that it's a gift. It's a very famous political essay which inspired the great Gandhi also. This essay inspired the great Gandhi. It was written by John Ruskin. Munera Pulveris means gifts of the dust. This work actually is a Latin title. It means gifts of the dust. Okay, Munera Pulveris, and it's a series of 6 essays criticizing the economic policies of 19th century England. So it is also an economic work. Crown of Wild Olive, we know, is written by John Ruskin only. Okay, so moving on to question number 70. Who has written the essay on doing nothing? So it's a very amusing essay, entertaining essay written by J.B. Priestley. Okay, so J.B. Priestley wrote this essay on doing nothing. Then moving on, which of the which among the following recommended that Hindi should be India's federal language? So the answer to this question is Radha Krishnan Commission, also known as University Education Commission. Okay, and this commission came out in the year 1948-49. Okay, so the questions have been asked from the commissions in India. That's a new trend in NET and in all sets exams, of course. Okay, then which is the outcome of the Army Specialized Training Method? So the outcome is total physical response. They actually perform the drill method. So the answer is total TPR, total physical response method. Who coined the term communicative competence? So communicative competence is coined by the great American linguist Noam Chomsky. Is called as father of modern linguistics. Okay, Chomsky is known for giving multiple you can say terms in linguistics like universal biogrammar or universal grammar. All these terms, competence, performance. There is also term which he gave competence, and then there is one more technical term, performance. So all these technical terms like universal biogrammar, competence, performance. Then there is one, this LAD, if you remember, language acquisition device. Correct. So language acquisition, basically device, LAD. I'm not writing here. Okay, so that is there. Then moving on to question number 74. What is reliability in a test? So this question has been asked from, you can say, research methodology, unit 10. So consistency of test results for a specific group of learners over time. And where is the headquarters of Central Institute of Indian Languages Institute located? So it is in short called as CIIL. Okay, it is located in Mysore. Okay, it has in total 7 centers. Okay, and its function is to promote Indian languages mentioned in Indian Constitution. Promote Indian languages. Okay, that is the function of CIIL, located in Mysore. It was formed in the year 17th July 1969. Okay, then which British governor? So this question is a tricky one. He is not asking the person who actually initiated the translation of Bhagavad Gita. He is asking the which British governor initiated. So the language of the question demands a serious attention. Many of the students, they might have done William Jones, but the correct answer is actually Warren Hastings, because he is asking about the British government. So it's a very important question. British governor, right? So Warren Hastings was in the period of Britain. Britain was the British governor of India from 1773 to 1785. Okay, and then about William Jones, we all are quite familiar with. William Jones is known as a uh, uh, translator of Bhagavad Gita. Okay, he was the translator of Bhagavad Gita. Okay, but who initiated the translation under which British governor? So answer would be Warren Hastings. Okay, then you can also make the note here about Charles Wilkins. He was actually a very important founder, one of the founding members and of Asiatic Society of Bengal, which was the Instrumental Society of all major translation in India, Asiatic Society. Okay, it was formed in the year 1784, and Charles Wilkins coins multiple terms like Hinduism. It was coined by Charles Wilkins only. Okay, and Charles Wilkins को और क्या कहा जाता है बेटा? Is called as Caxton of India because he initiated multiple level of translations and different types of typing machines also. Okay, typesetting books he introduced. Right, so I hope I am clear. And so Bhagavad Gita translated by William Jones. Charles Wilkins was a co-founder of Asiatic Society of Bengal. He's introduced the word Hinduism. He's also called as Caxton of India. And about Mahabharata, who translated Mahabharata in English. So there's a very famous writer, Indian writer, Kisari Mohan Ganguly. Kisari Mohan Ganguly translated Mahabharata in English. Okay, so all these points are very important. Okay, so moving on, question number 77. Who made the distinction between Lang and Parole? Very obvious question, very obvious answer. Ferdinand de Saussure, of course. Who has authored the book Principles and Practice in Second Language as Acquisition? So the answer is Stephen de Krischen. He is an American linguist. Okay, principle of language acquisition he is associated with. He is an American linguist, and this book came in 1982. Okay. Then who invented? This is a very new question, a very new type of question. Esperanto, the most successful artificial auxiliary language. So it's also called as the international language. Okay, and it was invented by Ludwig Zamenhof. He was a Jewish ophthalmologist. Ophthalmologist, you know, the one who deals with the study of eyes and all related to eye checkup and related to specs. Ophthalmologist, ophthalmologist. Okay, he was a Jewish ophthalmologist, and in 1887 he discovered or he invented this Esperanto. Okay, and he was from Poland. Nowadays, Poland, it was earlier in USSR. Okay, so this is all about Ludwig Zamenhof, and it is also known as Esperanto is known as universal language of for international commerce, universal language for international. I think universal second language for international commerce. So it is a human-made language. Okay, it's a artificial language. It is not a natural language. It is created by Zamenhof in 1887. Okay, for as a you can say language for people who don't have some common language to speak with. Okay, especially in business. Okay, 80 dash is the study of internal construction of word. So the internal construction of word is morphology. So basically morphology is made from morphemes. Okay, and morphemes are basically smallest unit of meaning. Smallest unit of meaning. Got the point? Say for example, if I have to say a word like unreachable, so if I write it in like unreachable, so if I put it in three box, so un, then reach is another box and able is another. So in total this is one word, but under this one word we have three morphemes. So I hope now you understood the concept of morpheme. It's the smallest unit of meaning. So un can be separated from this, reach can be separated able. So we will say that one word unreachable has three morphemes. I hope it is clear now to everyone. 81. Okay, which of the following acts marked a turning point, significant turning point in the history of spread of English education in India? It has to be Charter Act of 18,000, where 1 lakh rupees was, issued as a, you can say, as money for the, you can say, allocation for spread of English education in India, the Charter Act of 1830. Which of the following works is considered the most seminal writing by Raja Rao, portraying the impact of M.K. Gandhi's non-violence movement in a small village in South India. It has to be Kanthapura, 1938. We know a very important, you can say, novel. It is called as one of the landmark novels in Indian writings in English. In the preface to Kanthapura, Raja Rao portrayed how an Indian novel in English should be written. So the preface of Kanthapura is a classical piece of novel criticism in Indian writing in English. Okay, so it's a very important point that I have touched upon. 83. Which self-authored book was called a book of prayer by Raja Rao? So it's a one-liner. The answer is The Cat and Shakespeare is called as a book of prayer. It was published in 1985. It is subtitled as A Tale of India. The subtitle of this work, Cat and Shakespeare, is A Tale of India. Okay. Raja Ram Mohan Roy's letter dated December 11, 1823. Important document contributing to the introduction of bilingualism in Indian subcontinent. Who was this letter addressed to? Lord Amherst. Actually, in this letter, it was a passionate plea. Plea means a strong, urgent request. Okay, PLEA. So it was a passionate plea for Western education system. We know that he supported the introduction of English education in India, right? Raja Ram Mohan Roy. So Western education system. So letter to Lord Amherst, very important letter. In the novel The Vendor of Sweets, what business venture does Mali Jagan Sons propose? He proposes a story writing machine. The novel written Vendor of Sweets, you can say, actually talks about generation gap. The novel talks about generation gap between, you can say, between a father and his son. Okay. Now moving on, who wrote the following lines? Don't write in English. They said English is not your mother tongue. So this is a very famous line, documented in Kamala Das's autobiography. My Days, we know. Kamala Das's autobiography. My Story, sorry, not My Days. My Days is by R.K. Narayan. So My Story. Okay. With which of the following poets the Indian English poetry graduated from imitation to authenticity? So if we look at the phases of Indian writing poetry, Torudat, she is called as a transitional poetess because of her, you can say, shift from imitation phase to authentic phase. She was started writing authentic poetry, right? So that is Lala Kanshi Ram is a character in Chaman Lal's Nahal's Azadi, a novel which was given Sahitya Academy. The term Indo-Anglian suggests relationship between two countries, India and England, rather than a country and a language. Who said the above statement? So this was said by Alfonso Carcala. Alfonso Carcala is actually a writer from Tamil Nadu. Okay, he wrote a very important work called as Indo-English Literature in the 19th century. The work was published in 1970, Indo-English Literature in the 19th century. So he was a scholar in Indian writings in English. He lived from 1923 to 2016. So he was from south of India, especially he was from Tamil Nadu, and he was a novel critic. Okay. Which of the following are the co-editors of the book Chutneyfying English, The Phenomena of English? So this book was written by B.B. Kachru and Rupert Snail. Okay, the book was published in 2011. The book Culture and Society by Raymond Williams was published in 1958. It is one of the books of from the theory culture studies. We know it's a separate theory nowadays in our net English unit, and it is written by a Welsh writer. Okay, and he covered the period from 18th to 20th century. Right. Culture has been defined as a complex whole which includes knowledge, belief, arts, moral, and any other capabilities, habits acquired by men as a member of society. So it is written by uh, the historian sociologist, anthropologist Edward Taylor, and the work was published in the 19th century, 1871 to be precise. The Burden of Society, 1966. It was written by, actually, it is written by Hayden White, but the title of the work is highly confusing. It was also written by, same title by Udayan Mishra. Okay, the trending title, Burden of History in the current times, is written by Udayan Mishra. And then also, there is one more writer, Jane Morris. She has also written this work. But the very famous work by the title is by Hayden White. So he's a thinker from, I think, New Historicism. So this question is from New Historicism. Okay. Which of the following is considered as a founding text on queer theory? Very famous question. It is written by Judith Butler. Judith Butler's Gender Trouble, 1999. Okay. Which of the following belongs to the genre of horror films? So horror films. The answer is Halloween. Halloween. The pronunciation of this word is LOH, Halloween. Okay, so actually it is celebrated usually on 1st of November, and it is mainly related to ghost films. Ghost films, okay, but seen as or shown in a humorous way. Shown in a humorous way. So when the ghosts or ghost films are shown in a humorous way, then they are called as Halloween. So it's a kind of festival, cultural festival in Europe these days. Okay, Halloween. So, but usually it refers to a genre of horror films. The Uses of Literacy has been written by Richard Hoggart. So, Richard Hoggart is one of the founding members of culture studies. It tells the history of English language and media studies. History of English language and media studies. It was published in the year 1957. Ngugi wa Thiong'o. So Ngugi wa Thiong'o, we know, is a writer and culture theorist from Kenya, and he is actually he was born in 1938, and he's known for his very famous works. Let us quickly write them down. A Grain of Wheat, then Weep Not Child, very important work. All the net and polyaspirants should make detailed notes of all these novels that I'm writing. Petals of Blood, and then a very important post-colonial critique, Decolonizing the Mind. In fact, this is a very important work in post-colonialism theory, Decolonizing the Mind. So we are talking about Ngugi wa Thiong'o, a Kenyan critic, a culture theorist. So four works: A Grain of Wheat, Weep Not Child, Petals of Blood, and Decolonizing the Mind. Then moving on, which one of the following books, film has not been directed by uh, Osman Sembene. So Osman Sembene actually he lived from 1923 to 2007. Why is he included in our course here or in our test here? Basically, he is a very important writer. He is called as father of African film studies, or African films, not studies, African films. Very important title, father of African films. ठीक है, Usman Sembene, Sembene, Sembene. Okay, and he is from Senegal. Okay, he is a film director from Senegal in Africa, and the work In Search of Famine is not written by him, but the works which are written by him as Niai, which is a short movie, then Zala 1974, and Mulade 2004. Okay, so very important question this one. Then new question. That is the advantage of doing questions from the paper. We get to know about so many different people, right? Isn't it? So the precession of simulacra. This has been written by the very famous Jean Baudrillard. This question is from postmodernism. Okay, Jean Baudrillard has written a very famous essay or work, Simulacra and Simulation. Disappearance of real. He gave this term, disappearance of real, very beautifully described in Peter Barry. Okay, Jean Baudrillard. a French postmodern thinker, disappearance of real. So simulacra and simulation. Okay. Which of the following is a term used in film studies? So this was, I think, the highlight. When I was solving this paper, we know that all of us are learners. Came to know so much about this question. No? So much through this question. Film studies for referencing all the elements placed in front of the camera to be photographed and included in the sequence setting and props, lighting, costume, makeup, and action of the character. So the answer is mise en scène. Very, very interesting. So in Hindi, I'm writing the pronunciation because it's a French term. So it's pronounced something at like, and then there is a nukta here. So it's mise en scène. Mise-en-scène is a grand undefined term for film studies. It is called as a grand undefined term. So what does it mean? It means that when you have opened the camera, anything and everything that comes under the gaze of camera is called as mise-en-scène. And it is important in film studies, most important term, one of the most important terms. Okay. So mise-en-scène. I hope we'll start using these terms in our day-to-day life also. It's important to introduce literature in our day-to-day life also, isn't it? So mise-en-scène is a term that we have learned happily. Moving on to feel the virtue of the poet or the painter, to disengage it, to set it forth. These are the three stages. Who has given the three stages of critic's duty? So the answer is, of course, the great aesthetic critic Walter Pater. He said that poetry is a criticism of life and criticism is an interpretation of that interpretation. I repeat, poetry is a criticism of life and criticism is an interpretation of that interpretation. So basically, he's talking about that criticism is actually an interpretation of the interpretation. So there are three stages again. In John Dryden's essay of dramatic poesy, who is the representative of Dryden? Neander, which means new man. Then Biographia Literaria, which is published in 1817. It is considered as a critical autobiography, which came out in 2 volumes, giving the famous theory of imagination, secondary imagination and primary imagination. Then Well-Wrought Urn is a collection of representative essays, one of the very important series of essays, the Well-Wrought Urn. Okay. So the Well-Wrought Urn is actually written by a very important essay, the Well-Wrought Urn. First of all, let us quickly write about this essay, Well-Wrought Urn. It was written in the year 1947. 1947. The Well-Wrought Urn. And it is written by, of course, B option, Clint Brooks. Okay. The question is asked from New Criticism and it included 11 chapters. It is one of the foundational texts of New Criticism. The Well-Wrought Urn has 11 chapters, and the 11th chapter, the title of 11th chapter is very important. It is often asked in our NET exam. It is the hearsay of paraphrase. Very famous term he coined here. The name of the chapter, in fact, is very important. The hearsay of paraphrase. Paraphrase. Okay, this is a term coined by Clint Brooks. And the Well-Wrought Urn, the title is taken from a poem of by Donne. Okay, so Donne's poem. Okay, dash dissolves, diffuses, dissipates in order to create. So the answer is secondary imagination, which is only present to the poets. And secondary imagination is also called as plastic, a very important term coined by him. Okay, by Coleridge. Of course, this is taken from Biographia Literaria, also called as Autobiographia Literaria, and it is based on the philosophy of Kant, a great German aesthete philosopher. Okay, the term objective correlative, we know it is taken from Hamlet and His Problems, which was published in 1919, and then published in 1919 in The Sacred Wood, and then published separately in 1920, separately 1920 separately, right? So objective correlative, written by, of course, T.S. Eliot. Then according to I. Richards, the two uses of language are the referential or scientific and emotive effects. So the referential or scientific is used for creating, you can say, scientific effects and or scientific meaning, and the emotive is used for creating effects. Main इसमें emotive है. Emotive use of language is to create effect upon the readers. रेफरेंशियल तो इंफॉर्मेशन देता है, ठीक ही है. अकॉर्डिंग टू नाट्य शास्त्र of Bharat, how many sthai bhavas are there? So in total there are 8 sthai bhavas, just like 8 rasas are there. Sthai bhavas, what are sthai bhavas? Are durable psychological state creating rasas. Durable psychological states creating rasas. Okay. And sthai bhavas are 8, but there are 49 bhavas. How many bhavas? 49 bhavas and 8 sthai bhavas. Every bhav creates rasa. So 8 sthai bhav creating 8 rasas. So the next question is sthai bhav, krodh or wrath gives to which rasa? Rise to which rasa? Of course, Raudra or furious. Raudra ras. Okay. Then who is the author of New Bearings in English poetry? So it is written by F.R. Lewis, who is called as father of liberal humanism in Great Britain. Okay. Who among the critics does not belong to Yale School? First of all, Yale School is called as the second wave of deconstruction. Okay. They are also called as the father of Jacques Derrida. It's a very important question. Followers of Jacques Derrida. Okay, all of these. So the correct answer to the question is that does not belong to Yale School is Gerard Jennett does not belong. So Paul Deman belongs, Hillis Miller belongs, and Hartman belongs. Okay, and all of these are followers of Jacques Derrida, and it is called as second wave of deconstruction. Yale School of Criticism. Gerard Jennett belongs to the field of narratology. Okay, who among the following critics undermines a metaphysics of presence? Undermines means to undervalue. So we know the answer is again Derrida. Derrida gave this concept of metaphysics of presence and said that it does not work in deconstruction. Which publication is identifying the beginnings of second wave feminism in 1960s of America? So second wave of feminism is introduced by Betty Friedan's The Feminine Mystique, which actually criticized the role of glorifying women. Please pay attention to what I am saying now. Feminine Mystique criticizes the role of glorifying women as a homemaker. So basically, Feminine Mystique says that the American ads of 1960s, they kind of pretended that women are the great homemakers. They have this great skill of managing a home. So in that way, they kind of glorified women as a homemaker, but also they ensured that women cannot come to the area of men's, you can say, working. Like women cannot become professional, women cannot become a successful worker. So that is what the second wave of feminism is all about. It was a radical feminism. Okay. In which of the essay Kirsteva draws on the works of Bakhtin, a Russian formalist, to produce the very famous intertextuality. Okay, that's there in our Uttarakhand lecturer syllabus also, this term intertextuality. So the answer is the revolution in poetic language and language desire. And desire in language. Please correct the title. It is desire in language. This is the correct title. Okay. So intertextuality is relationship between the text, and the revolution in poetic language introduced two terms, semiotic and symbolic. Please make notes on this semiotic and symbolic. Okay. Who wrote the essay Reading the Satanic Verses? So, Reading the Satanic Verses is written by Gayatri Spivak, the one of the trio of post-colonial writers. The term culture industry is given by Adorno and Horkheimer, and they were German, you can say, culture theorist. Okay, German culture theorist. Their famous work was Dialectic of Enlightenment, which was produced in 1947. Who among the following argued that modern technical innovations such as television, radio, cinema have altered the status of work and art? So the answer is Walter Benjamin. He is also a critic from the Frankfurt School of Criticism. So Frankfurt School, you can make a note of Frankfurt School. Okay, they were kind of Marxist who critiqued the use of popular culture. Okay, who among the following critics is known as exponent of reception theory? So Wolfgang Iser, I could find out Wolfgang Iser as the answer because he was also there in reader response theory. He is known as one of the founder of Constance School of Reception Theory. Constance School of Reception Theory, I am writing in RT in short. And who is the other fellow along with him, which is very important writer of reception theory? His name is H.R. Joss. Jaus, single S. Okay. Then who among the following say that gender is the repeated stylization of the body's set of repeated acts within a highly rigid regulatory framework that congeal over time to produce appearance of substance of a natural sort of being? So this was written by Judith Butler, where he gave the concept of gender performativity, performativity, gender performativity. Okay, the work Gender Trouble, queer theory. Okay, question 120. Who among the following argued that reality is a fantasy construction that enables us to marks the real of our desire? So the term desire is also given by Zizek. Zizek, the term again is from, we will say, post-structuralism, because Zizek developed the theory of Lacan. Okay, so he developed the theory of Lacan. He gave the two important critical terms. One is desire, and the second term is reality. These are the two terms that he gave. I'm not going into the details of the meanings of these terms, but he developed the philosophy of Lacan. Okay. Then who introduced the term impact factor? This is a very important term, a very important question for all of us to make note. In the late 1950s, it is given by the researcher Eugene Garfield. And what is impact factor? It is a metric, it is a scale, it is a metric measuring the average impact of a journal. Average impact of a journal. Okay, and impact factor what was given by Garfield in the Institute for Scientific Information. Institute for Scientific Information, in short called as ISI. When he was trying to make use of the data from his science citation index, tracking the history of scientific ideas through citations. So basically, when he was trying to find out the history of scientific ideas through citations, he came upon, or he introduced the term impact factor, which is a kind of metric, which is a kind of standard measuring the average impact of a journal. It was given by Eugene Garfield in the year 1950, in the decade of 1950s, right? Okay. Then moving on, as per MLA style, which option seems to be correct? So the option about the title of a research paper, that it must be put in the center. This answer is correct, right? The title should never be italicized, it should never be underlined, it should never be typed in all capital. Just initial capital should be there. Which of the following works is standardized method of capitalization? So the answer is Kiss of the Spider-Man, because in this the initial of the main word is capital, like kiss, spider, and woman. Always remember that in titles we avoid capitals in preposition. Please make a very important note. Conjunction, if there is a preposition, conjunction, or article. Okay, yes. Then moving on, which term is ascribed to the practice of presenting another ideas, words, or entire work as one's own? So it's a negative term, which basically means literary theft, plagiarism. What is the abbreviation of PDF stands for? So it is portable data format. Portable data format. So it allows users to share and print documents that cannot be modified. I'm not writing on the screen if you want to write. It allows the users to share and print documents that cannot be modified. Okay. Then what is a Microsoft Word? So it is a word processing package. It is a word processing package. Okay. Which is incorrect with respect to the title and subtitle. So it must contains aspect not dealing with the text. This is incorrect. Okay. So what is correct? It should not be too long or obscure. It must reflect the concept. It must focus on the key aspects. In MLA style, while writing the title of research paper, which of the following parts of speech falling within a title is not capitalized? Just now I have told you it is preposition which is not capitalized. Okay. Which term do we ascribe to the data gathered by planning and conducting a sample survey? So the answer is primary data. It is also called as raw data. What do you call a battery of statements designed to capture the relevant aspects of a consumer's personality, interests, attitude, beliefs, and values? It's called as psychographic inventory. How many types of languages in drama are distinguished by Bharat Muni in Natya Shastra? So he gave actually the four types of languages, and what are their names? First is Ati Bhasha, which is language of gods. The second is Arya Bhasha, which is language of kings. Third is Jati Bhasha, which is language of common people. And the fourth is Yon Yantri Bhasha. Yon Yantri Bhasha, which is the language of beasts or animals. Okay, so this is language of God, this is language of kings, this is language of common people, this is language of beast or animals. So four types of languages in drama given by the great Bharat Muni in Natya Shastra, which is called as fifth Veda of Indian aestheticism. Fifth Veda. Okay, identify the correct pair. So the answer is A, C, and D, which basically means Shakespeare wrote As You Like It, Dryden wrote The Indian Queen, and Harold Pinter wrote The Birthday Party. Every Man in His Humor is not written by Marlowe, it is written by Ben Jonson. Okay, and Dream on Monkey Mountain is not written by G.B. Shaw, of course. It is a classic text of African literature. Okay, A Dream on Monkey Mountain. I think it is written by Derek Walcott, if I am not wrong, the great Caribbean writer, Nobel Prize winner. Okay, find out the play not written by Tennessee Williams. So this is from American drama. So this question is from American drama, expressionist drama. Tennessee Williams is a classic writer, was a great writer of American drama. So the Hairy Ape is not written by him. The Cat on a Tin Roof, Streetcar Named Desire, Glass Menagerie is written by him. Hairy Ape is of course written by the great Eugene O'Neill. It's called as father of modern American drama. Eugene O'Neill, recipient of four Pulitzer Prize plus one Nobel Prize. Then T.S. Eliot's poetic play Murder in the Cathedral is based on the life of St. Thomas Becket. Name the English dramatist who won Nobel Prize in 2005 and wrote Caretaker and Homecoming, of course, the great Harold Pinter. Then the opening scene of The Way of the World, it is introduced in a chocolate house. Then Henrik Ibsen was a Norwegian playwright. He is known as a playwright of naturalistic drama. His plays show naturalism, which basically means extreme form of realism. Okay, the term third theater. So it's a very important question. Please do make 5 stars over here. So this is a question from Indian drama in English. The term third theater is also called as alternative theater. It is also called as fringe theater. Okay, and it is also a reaction to traditional theater. Basically, it is introduced in India, or it is associated in India with the great dramatist from Bengal, Badal Sarkar, who introduced his own theater company called as Shatabdi. Okay, and he in fact introduced plays for people to watch to without any rate, so free of cost. He introduced this play. Basically, his style was street theater, also called as Nukkad Natak. So street theater is basically called as third theater, mainly in Indian context. What are the features of third theater? It is used for social awareness. Then second, it is used for rural theater. It is used as a rural theater. Then the third is it emphasizes on the performance. It is mainly performance driven theater. And the fourth is, of course, it is usually free of cost. So everyone can come and watch. Following lines are told by a father to his daughter in a play. And what are the lines? We two alone will sing like birds in a cage. When thou dost ask me blessings, I will kneel down and ask of thee forgiveness. So of course, King Lear is saying to Cordelia, his third daughter, right? Manjula Padmanabhan's play Harvest. It deals with a very serious and very burning topic of organ trade. Okay, the play came out in the year 1997. Okay, and actually it was performed by a very famous theater company, Kali for Women. It's a very famous theater company, Kali for Women. It was performed by this theater company in 1997. It's a play Harvest written by Manjula Padmanabhan. The company Kali for Women is actually founded by two very important feminists, contemporary feminist writers. First is Urvashi Butalia, which was I think asked in 2023 question net, and second is Ritu Menon, although they now are separated. But these two formed this very famous theatre company, Kali for Women, which produced this iconic, very important play, Harvest, which deals with the, you can say, very sensational topic of organ trade. And both are called as leading feminists of our times, Urvashi Butalia and Ritu Menon, both from Delhi and product of DU, I think, Delhi University. Next question is which of the, okay, okay, 140, yes. So Milton's Areopagitica was published in which year? It is called as the greatest pamphlet by Milton, 1644. It deals with the freedom of press, the common refrain of those era in Commonwealth's government is freedom of press. Okay, Areopagitica. Who among the following is a Cavalier poet? Richard Lovelace. So, good time for us to quickly remember their name. Cavalier poets were Carew, Lovelace, Suckling, and of course Herrick, Robert Herrick, the one who wrote Gather Ye Rosebuds While Ye May, a classic example of Carpe Diem, right? So Carew, Lovelace, Suckling, and Herrick, Cavalier poets were the poets who basically supported the king and wrote refined, elegant lyrics. Okay, they were against, they were writing against metaphysical school. So which of the following option is correct? So the answer is spondi. Basically, it refers to two successive stressed syllables, right? Which of the following is not an occasional poetry? So occasional poetry is a poetry which is occasioned on anyone, on any specific event. So the answer is Love Song of J. Alfred Prufrock. This very famous poem is a stream of consciousness technique poem which was actually written in February 1910, written but published in 1915. Okay, it is also called as Drama of Literary Anguish, and it is the first professional published poem of T.S. Eliot. And Love Song of J. Alfred Prufrock is actually a dramatic monologue, and it was published in 1915 in Poetry, a magazine of verse, a very famous magazine initiated from Chicago. Okay, I think by Harriet Monroe. So that is there. Then later on, it was published in 1917. This poem by Prufrock as Prufrock and Other Observations. Rest of the other poems are occasioned by an incident. Okay. So, who among the following is a graveyard poet? So, Edward Young is the answer. Edward Young is one of the graveyard poets. The other being Thomas Gray is there. Then Thomas Parnell is also there. Okay, graveyard poets were poets of 1740s. Okay, who wrote on death and melancholic themes. Then, which of the following is incorrect? So Spencerian stanza does not have 10 lines, it has 9 lines. Okay. Who defined poetry as poetry is the record of the best and happiest moment of the happiest and best minds, said by P.B. Shelley. And this quote actually is also a chiasmus, which is basically when the inverted clause are or clause are inverted. Okay. So best and happiest is inverted as happiest and best. Okay. Which of the following is not the part of T.S. Eliot's four quartets? So the answer is Ash Wednesday is not a part. Rest of the things are part. East Coker, Bird Norton, Dry Salvages. We made a code for that, BEDL. So B is Burn Norton, E is East Coker, D is Dry Salvages, and L is Little Gidding. So the part which is missing in this option is Little Gidding, GIDDING. So these are the four quartets, very famous series of poems. Okay, who wrote the poem Fernhill? So Fernhill is written by the great Welsh poet Dylan Thomas. And finally, the last question, a figure of speech in which the part stands for the whole and the whole stands for the part, basically refers to synecdoche. Okay, so that in a way concludes our presentation. Hope you liked it and keep sharing this to all the literature lovers. Okay, so I will see you soon in my next video. Okay, till that time, thank you so much. And for this question paper, you can get in our Telegram. Okay, thank you.